Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to today's filing workshop. We really will not need the whole time for today's presentation. Typically, we end up finishing up usually around 11:30 or so, and then we have time for questions for those that need to stay and ask questions towards the end. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, just to kind of go over some of the things that I mentioned for those that maybe hadn't come in yet. Make sure that you stay on mute for today's session unless you want to ask questions at the Q&A after the presentation is over. You can have your camera off. Hold your questions until the end, please. You can post any questions in the chat as well too, but it'd be nice if you could hold them towards the end because maybe somebody else has them. And today's session is recorded, so if you cannot attend the entire session, you can see it on our website. So my name is Samantha Dusdeker. I'm an academic advisor in graduate studies. And hosting with me today is Sarah Mooney. She will be the one answering any questions that you all have in the chat. Again, if you have any technical issues or anything, definitely feel free to let me know. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to be talking about, well, we're in November now, apparently. We're going to be talking about filing your thesis or dissertation for today. So in terms of academic services and our team here within Grad Studies, if you haven't met us or you're not familiar with us, we currently are a 5-person team going through the process of hiring a 6th person. So we have Sarah Driver, who is our Director of Advising, Jaiwen Zhang, who's here in the chat, Student Service Specialist. We have Eder Zamundo, who's also here, a Student Service Specialist, and then Sarah Mooney and myself are Senior Academic Advisors. And if you've had appointments in our office, you may have probably met with myself or Sarah Mooney in the course of the appointment. And you can always go on our website or go on the appointment website, which I'll have Sarah link in the chat, so that you can make an appointment with our office if you're not able to get all of your questions answered today in the presentation. So for today's agenda, we will be talking about when you should be filing, how to file for your thesis or dissertation, what you need to submit in terms of required paperwork, and what do you file for your thesis and dissertation, specifically with respect to like ProQuest and some of those options for publishing, copyright, etc., and what happens after you file as well. So when do you file for your thesis or dissertation? The deadlines, or actually, in order to file, you need to have meet some basic eligibility requirements. So in order to be in a position to file for your thesis or your dissertation, you must have advanced candidacy. You must be registered in classes fully or on filing fee for this quarter, if you're filing this quarter, or next quarter if you're preparing for next quarter, but you do need to have an active student registration status. Master's students must have passed all of your courses listed on your candidacy application. Your cumulative GPA should be above a 3.0. Any I or NG grades should be resolved. All of your committee members should be approved. So for example, if if you're a student and your committee has changed in the course of you writing your thesis or dissertation, you should be checking in with our office to make sure that you're completing something called a reconstitution. But ultimately, all of your committee members should be approved by our office. Doctoral students that are in a Plan A and Plan C candidacy program must have defended your program successfully. And your responsibility in this process is to make sure you give your committee enough time to read and comment on your thesis or dissertation. Typically, we recommend about 4 weeks. We want to make sure you're communicating a timeline with your committee if your committee has changed since your reconstitution was, or your committee has changed, right? Like I said, since your candidacy form was approved. So again, I'll have Sarah put the link here for the reconstitution in the chat if you need to redo or comprise your committee, but it is something that we should have approved in advance. So the filing calendar for this academic year, since we only have dates published through June, closer to fall winter of this next year, we will have published dates for the next academic calendar. But your submission deadlines for this quarter would be December 8th at midnight. And then your degree awarded date for fall would be December 15th. Again, you must be enrolled on filing or on filing fee for fall of 2023. For winter, the filing deadline is March 15th. And then for spring, the filing deadline is June 6th. So just keep that in mind. Always our deadlines are at midnight. So you are more than welcome to submit right up until that deadline. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means with respect to paperwork and your ProQuest submission. But master report forms, dissertation, required paperwork, signed title page, all of those documents must be submitted by 11:59 p.m. on the day of the deadline. Okay. So how do you file? What does the filing process look like overall? There are three main steps that you'll complete. The first one is uploading your completed and approved from your committee thesis or dissertation to ProQuest ETD. So this is a website that if you're thinking about submitting for this quarter, you can log in, create a profile, and explore it now, even if you're not submitting immediately. ProQuest will automatically send a notification to our office to let us know that you have submitted your thesis or dissertation. And if we have any edits or adjustments that need to be made, we will be contacting you and you'll get a notification through ProQuest as we ask for changes. So just keep that in mind. All of your paperwork, except for your signed title page, is uploaded through Box. So I will have Sarah put the link for the Box file request in the chat, which you can click on at any time. You don't have to create an account or anything. You can look at this link and just get a sense of how you should format your files and how you'll upload things. And we will go through all of the required paperwork in a few minutes. But ultimately, that's where all of the paperwork that Grad Studies requires is uploaded. We do not have physical copies required in office anymore. As a result of the pandemic, we have gone digital through Box. And so you can drag and drop all of your forms there. If you have any issues uploading or any difficulties, you can always contact us and we can get back to you. You can submit your forms as you complete them. We hold on to them and won't start reviewing and processing your work until we receive that ProQuest ETD notification that you've uploaded your thesis or dissertation. So if you want to work on your surveys, if you need to do those or get any paperwork into us early, you are more than welcome to submit that whenever you would like. We won't start reviewing all of your necessary paperwork until we have your ProQuest submission. And the last form or the last step is to make sure that your committee chair or graduate coordinator sends your signed title page to your assigned student academic advisor or senior academic advisor, which will either be Sarah or myself. We want to make sure that the title page has those digital signatures or hard copy signatures following the template that's listed on our website. So we can throw that in the chat as well, the title page template. But they all must be CC'd on the email, and we look to see that this isn't sent directly from you as the student, because we want to make sure ultimately that this form isn't tampered with or the signatures are coming directly from the committee members themselves. So let's move on. So what do you file? Let's talk now a little bit about the required paperwork for the thesis, as well as the required paperwork for the dissertation. We're going to go through both for master's and PhD students. So there's a few different forms that you'll need to submit. There's more forms if you're a doctoral student, and there's less if you are a master's student. So the signed title page is a commonality between each one, master's, thesis, as well as doctoral dissertation. You need that signed title page signed by all of your committee members if you're filing either one of those. Same thing with that PDF copy of your abstract. This you can just pull directly out of your thesis or dissertation and add your name and ID number at the top so we can identify that it's your specific abstract. You'll make sure to upload that to the Box file link that Sarah's added and the one we had talked about earlier. The dissertation release agreement or the embargo, which talks about when you would like your work published, is also a common form between the master's thesis and the doctoral dissertation. Each of these forms outlines specifically when you would like your work published. So do you need it held for publication? Or are you trying to publish something before it's published through the university? And I would suggest if you have questions about this, you maybe reach out to your committee chair. They may have some advice about when you should publish your work. So this is signed by you and your committee chair, this form. And then the graduate program exit information form is signed by your grad coordinator. And form is really just to notify the program that you're graduating, as well as maybe any plans you have after graduation, and make sure that they have the correct address and can just kind of keep track of you as an alumni. So those 4 forms are common between the thesis and the dissertation. The dissertation has a few extra things that you need to do, which is the graduate studies exit survey. That's about a 45-minute survey. Once it's completed, you'll receive a 4-digit code that you'll take a screenshot of or save, and that will get uploaded to Box. The National Science Foundation Survey of Earned Doctorates is another one, and that has a completion certificate that you can download and save to Box once you're done. And if you are completing a designated emphasis, you do need to have a designated emphasis or DE report signed by your DE chair. If you're not familiar with this at this point and you're about to file, it probably doesn't apply to you, but it's basically equivalent to like a minor in your program. And we just need to confirm that you completed all of the necessary requirements for that DE, and you are going to be putting it on your diploma. Alternatively, if you had a designated emphasis and have decided to abandon it, you should send us an email so that we can pull it off of your academic record and make sure that we're not awarding it if you are not completing it. You need to submit a report of your final exam only if you are a Plan A and a Plan C student for the PhD. So just to keep that in mind. So the last 2 forms, the designated emphasis form and the final report form for the Plan A and the C, those are optional. It's based on your specific program and the requirements for your specific program. All of the other forms are required for all students pursuing a dissertation. Alrighty then. We will head to the next slide here. So the title page, this is one of the most common places that we see a lot of issues with for students. So Sarah already linked the title page resource from the filing website in the chat. Make sure that you check that out and take a look at these very specific wording. The most common issues that we see are people adding doctor or professor in front of the names of the committee members on the title page. We just want first and last names, for example. And so that's just something to keep in mind in terms of formatting. For your ProQuest submission, you should have the title page as the first page of your thesis or dissertation. But this page, when you submit to ProQuest, does not have signatures in it. For some reason, if you submit your ProQuest submission and it does have signatures from your committee member, we will just send it back to you and let you know to make that adjustment and to remove those signatures. But ultimately, the ProQuest submission for your entire thesis and dissertation, the title page should just have blank lines, blank signature lines. So again, this is just reiterating that your title page should be emailed directly to us by your committee chair or your grad coordinator with all of the relevant committee members CC'd, again, sent to myself or to Sarah Mooney for review and processing. So what do you file for the thesis or dissertation? The very specific things that you can adjust or make adjustments to in ProQuest. So there are some publishing options to keep in mind with respect to your ProQuest ETD submission. There's a lot of different options for ProQuest or open access. Again, we just reiterate that you should talk to your major professor, your committee, or published faculty in your field if you have questions about your embargo or the access of your work once it is submitted to ProQuest. Copyright versus copyright registration. This is all stuff that you can take a look into ProQuest specifically. There is a fee associated with copyright within ProQuest. So make sure that if you have any questions about that, again, you're talking to your committee to just confirm that your specific field, you should be pursuing copyright if you need it. And all of these things about publishing options, embargo, and copyright, we do have a link that I will have Sarah put in the chat in terms of being able to answer more detailed questions. And we have a specialist through the library that can answer any detailed questions that you have about copyright specifically. But usually your committee and your program should have some information because everything with respect to embargo, publication, and copyright can be very, very program or field specific. So we recommend contacting them if you have questions. Paper formatting on our filing page. Again, we want to make sure that you're reviewing the blue drop downs that we have in the Q&A section for your thesis and dissertation formatting. The priority things that our office looks for are, again, the preliminary pages being that title page, that you have an abstract, that you have chapters outlined, etc. We look for 1-inch margins on all of your pages, page numbers, to make sure that your page numbers are in the right place if they're landscape, as well as all of your content for the body of your thesis and dissertation is double spaced. A lot of the options about formatting are decided by you, the way your committee would like to view things, and any norms in your profession or your field. So just keep that in mind. Again, common formatting errors that we see are on the title page or not having the correct spacing or page numbers. If you submit your thesis or dissertation before that midnight deadline and we have any adjustments that need to be made, we will send them back to you and you will have time to make those adjustments as long as your thesis or dissertation came in before midnight. So we see a lot of common formatting errors, but ultimately paperwork is not going to be the reason why. We want to make sure that you are able to graduate, and so we work with you as long as you've submitted before the deadline to get those adjustments made so that it can be published in the correct format. And you can always ask questions if you have any as well to our team. ProQuest, there's a lot of information about how to upload with them. Again, I would recommend making a profile with them early and kind of popping through their website and looking to see what options ProQuest has for publication. There's traditional publishing, copyright registration. You can select your embargo and you can purchase bound copies through ProQuest. And typically our office recommends UC Bindery if you would like to order bound copies. I will have Sarah attach the link for UC Bindery in the chat. So you're more than welcome to take a look at their website. We don't work directly with them. We just refer students to them. So if you have any detailed questions, speak with their office directly. Again, formatting corrections can be made after the deadline. So we review and send you edits to your email via ProQuest. You can edit and re-upload for review after the deadline as long as you've submitted before midnight on that initial deadline. And then the publishing process, and if you find major errors after you file, ultimately the thesis or dissertation is considered a snapshot in time with respect to where you were with your research, etc. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact us, but typically they don't accept any significant edits to research, etc. after you have formally submitted for that filing deadline. So you've completed all of the steps. You've uploaded to ProQuest, you've submitted all of your paperwork, you have had the title page sent over. What exactly happens now? So again, we review your formatting in ProQuest. We are notified once you upload to ProQuest, and we adjust for common formatting errors and give you time to fix things. Keep in mind that this is an entirely manual process on the end of our office, so it can take a few weeks, especially as we get closer and closer to the deadline for that review process to take place. The process of sending you edits and adjustments is something where you have to have an individual person review and have a set of eyes on that paper. Same thing with the paperwork as well too. We manually go through Box to check and see that you have everything. So just keep that in mind in terms of how quickly or not quickly you may hear back from us, especially as we get closer to December 8th. We review our applications on a rolling basis throughout the quarter. So for example, the turnaround time if you file tomorrow is probably going to be a lot faster than right up until the filing deadline. But we definitely want to make sure we're working with you to get any necessary paperwork you need over to a future employer, which goes to the post-filing process. So we check your formatting, confirm your graduation eligibility. We file to graduate you manually in our system, and we email you your conferral letter, which is a digital PDF signed by the Dean of Grad Studies, saying that your degree will be awarded on the specific date that you file for your term. So if it's this quarter that you're filing, it will be the December 15th date in that conferral letter. You may receive your conferral letter after December 15th. That happens. And if that is the case, we still will have awarded your degree on that date based on when you initially filed your submission. Again, we have a lot coming in, so we try to turn them around as quickly as we can, but appreciate your patience in the review process, especially if there's back and forth between your office and us as well. Your degree conferral letter, again, sent by PDF. You will receive some information in the email with your conferral letter, talking about your diploma, mailing, and any options that you want there. Keep in mind, we are not the registrar's office for grad students. We are Grad Studies. We serve as the dean's office. So anything regarding to diploma, transcripts, paperwork, and all of those things come directly from the office of the university registrar. We do not process any of that paperwork. We do not mail diplomas, etc. So you can always contact them if you have questions about that or changing your address, etc. We provide a lot of that information in our final conferral letter email, but if you'd like to reach out to them directly, you are more than welcome to contact the registrar at any time. There's also an optional in-person bell ringing that you can schedule once you receive your conferral letter. That email will prompt you to our appointment system where you can schedule a bell ringing. This is usually about a 15-minute appointment where you can come in, literally ring a bell, signifying that you have completed your degree requirements. We read your conferral letter, and students can invite as many friends, family, lab members, faculty that they would like to our office. We've had quite a lot of people in the front office before. You can take pictures, wear a cap and gown, etc. If you do not want to do the bell ringing, the next commencement ceremony is sometime in June. So we only do one once a year. If you see anything about a December ceremony, that is undergrad only. Grad Studies and grad students only have a ceremony once a year in June. So again, to the degree awarding timeline, official documents, etc. We have website information that we can link. Sarah will put that up for you, but your student record will show degree awarded, and transcripts may be starting to be processed probably about 8+ weeks after your initial filing and we've processed and you've received your conferral letter, right? So after you receive your conferral letter, about 8 weeks after that, you will see your academic record show degree awarded, and the university registrar starts working on those transcripts. So that's kind of what the after process looks like. and just some things to kind of keep in mind about how we operate internally and the other offices you can contact if you have questions. So, like I said, we typically don't take the full time for today's session. We're almost exactly at 11:30. I know Sarah has put a lot of links in the chat, so feel free to copy and paste all of those and put them in a Word doc if you would like, just so you have everything in one place. Also, our filing website page is incredibly comprehensive and has a lot of information. And if you feel like you have any additional questions, you're more than welcome to throw them in the chat now. I can answer them live for you. But typically we stay for an additional 10 minutes, so we'll probably be here in the room till about 11:40. And I am going to, in a minute, when we get started with the Q&A, make sure to turn the recording off right here so that we don't share any private questions that you may have. So I'm going to, let's see here, stop our